What is up, guys? It's Verns back here again with another Supercoach video. This time it is the round 12 review. Now, before we do jump into the Supercoach, obviously you will see that I have dyed my hair. Honestly, something I used to do a lot, and I've always loved dyeing my hair. And honestly, just had a really good excuse this time. I'm sure any anime lover, especially of the sports variety, would know that the Haiku movie came to cinemas on Thursday. And so I dyed my hair to look like Hinata and enjoy what was an awesome movie. Now, I know my boy Joe from the Center Bounce definitely appreciates that. If you appreciate it, I mean, tell me down below. I love talking anime. Try and keep no spoilers in the chat though. In the comments though, because I wouldn't want to ruin it for anyone else that hasn't quite gotten there. But so good. Loved it. Just so happy with how everything's going. And then to top it off, we had some great Supercoach. So as you can see, we scored a 2,085. I'm so sorry about it starting the rain. Of course, it starts pissing down 2 minutes before I sit down to record. As I mentioned, obviously I've started a new job, so I can't do them early Monday. So if it doesn't happen Sunday night, it won't happen until Monday night. Now we did have some. Now, I didn't end up making a trades video at the end of the day to talk through my trades plans, but if you do follow me on X, you would have seen that I did upload it to X. I just ran out of time, as I mentioned, Haiku movie and whatnot coming out, and with games being Thursday night, it feels like it's just too late to get there if you're not getting there before the Thursday game. So, yeah, I didn't end up putting that out, but that is hopefully okay. As I said, if you want to follow me on X, just Verns_SC Hub. Obviously, I will be on the SC Hub tomorrow night, so if you want to tune in there, you can find them on YouTube, just Supercoach Hub. We will jump on with Scobie and Joshy there, but yeah, follow them, join our Discord. I'll leave descriptions for my Twitter down below, X, as well as the Discord links, but if you haven't already, I would appreciate you subscribing to the channel or just liking the video. But even if you don't, I appreciate you being here for your consistent injections of Supercoach content. And of course, if you subscribe directly into your YouTube feed. Sorry, things are a little bit out of order, but we're getting it done. But yeah, it was actually a pretty good score. The 2085 was a pretty good score. Obviously, it wasn't just around the 500 round rank like it was last week, but the 5,093 for the round rank put us up 6,400 places to 25,631. And that's awesome. I think we're really set up well for the buys, and I'm ready to have a strong run home. Saying that, you look at like the top of the table, like the top of the rankings, and they all got around this score. So these are the kind of scores that can keep me up to, in reach. Like, I guess keep me up with the 1%, top 1%, but we want to be beating that top 1% so that we can start catching them. But feeling really good about it. I think I'm feeling really confident about these buys. I think we're going to come back with a vengeance in the second half of this season, so I'm so keen for that. Also, I guess a big shout out to Supercoach Big Horse. Man, had a massive score. When I saw that in my leagues, I was like, damn, this guy could win the weekly. Unfortunately, Mick didn't quite get it, but he gained 40 for the week, so that's pretty dope. Yeah, that's higher than any of my Supercoach weeklies. I think last year we finished 76 for a weekly, but definitely not at 40 for AFL, that is. But we'll jump into the team and we'll see how it looked coming into the week. And you're going to find this pretty crazy. I did talk about him as a captain, but boom, there he is. We put Max Holmes as our captain. Obviously, if you had a Nick Dacos, if you had a Bont, awesome, you smashed it. Huge advantage on the competition. And hindsight's 2020, but obviously pies, how many players do we actually have out? Probably should have thought that Bont was going to go pretty big with our depleted lineup, saying that 80-point final term, kicks a clutch goal, like, it didn't look crazy until that fourth term, but yeah, so, congrats to anyone that got on that, congrats to anyone that got on Dacos, but Max Holmes wasn't the worst shout. I mean, 133 was the 9th highest score for the round, so, like, I'm not unhappy with that. To keep us within range of Dacos and not too far off the Bont, well, I mean, pretty far, but closer than a lot of others, you're pretty happy with that. I mean, considering the other option I was tossing up was Max Gorn, that would have been another 40 points down the drain, and I'm sure there's many people that got stuck with, like, a Max Gorn or a Caleb Sarong, and just lost even more than I did. So, yeah, I mean, that was pretty good that we got the Max Holmes captain. I feel so happy, too, because, like, we all know I've been, like, the biggest Max Holmes advocate since the season started. We started him priced at 82. He's now averaging 105, 23 points above that starting price. Like, that's elite. Like, I'm so happy with what we've gotten from Holmes. I feel like every week he's shortchanged, and I talk about it week in, week out. Like, dude, this guy can do 130s. I know he can. I'm going to keep him for a swingman later in the season. I mean, I don't even know if he needs to be a swingman anymore. Like, he just straight getting fielded when I get my, 7 defenders. Like, he's just elite. I love what he does. And the 133 with the captaincy, delicious. I love it. But yeah, just quickly on that captaincy subject, I will bring up a little notepad here. Probably doesn't look that great to you guys, but this is basically my captains throughout the years. We went Butters into English 3 times in a row, McGovern, back to Butters, back to Bont. We brought Green in for a 5, to Bont, Gorn, Ryan, and then Holmes. So we've gotten the captains a little bit back together. It's honestly the big lulls here with the Bont 102, the McGovern 72. Hindsight, McGovern 72. If I told you McGovern was versing Richmond this coming week, you would have to consider him in your VCC plans, would you not? And this was the week that McGovern actually versed Richmond. You could say I was ahead of the game VCing defenders into Richmond. But it just wasn't the week, unfortunately. I say VCing, I straight seed him. Pretty ballsy of me on like round 5. But yeah, obviously some captain scores weren't great. And overall, that puts us to an average of 109 for our captain scores. We know people that are getting 130s, getting 140s for their average, so a lot of points behind the rest of the comp, which sucks. Obviously, you take out Green's 5, which does a lot of damage. Takes us to 118, which isn't the worst for captaincies, but still definitely behind the top echelon of players. So, yeah, just wanted to bring my captaincies up and show that, yeah, I haven't quite nailed those this year, and definitely playing a factor. And obviously the 5 from Green having a massive factor there too. But just quickly over the team, obviously, yeah, Daclos, elite. Ryan, oh my gosh, he's so funny. I love watching him chip it. I was sitting there. I went to go see my partner's Nan and Pop on Sunday, and I was sitting there with her brother and her dad, and every time the ball went into like Freo's defensive line, I would just be like, and then back to Ryan, and go back to Ryan, and you'd be like, and then he'd swing it, and you'd be like, and then back to Ryan again, and he would do it, and you just like, it's just so funny. I remember seeing the meme, I forgot who posted a little while ago for the Simpsons meme where they talk, I forgot who put it up, and it was just like, Clark, back to Ryan, back to Clark, back to Ryan, holds it. I think when the soccer came to the Simpsons, really funny meme there. So that was really sick. Yeah, Houston 98, honestly pretty disappointing. We all know I'm not too happy with this pick. Oh, I say we all know, but maybe not. I had a bit of a rant on Thursday night in one of our, I guess, just chats that we have. And I was just so mad. I was like, bro, why did I pick this guy up? Like, what is he doing? He's just not doing anything. Like, he stands like 10 meters off the contest, and he really just wants to play that quarterback role where he wants Port to just like funnel it out to him through the back of the pass, like of the play, and then he gets to make the delivery. And the problem is that I feel like Port's the kind of team that want to push forward, so they're not looking to go out the back like they would to a Dacos or to a Martin or to a Holmes, McGovern, even Ryan, Sitting at the back of these stoppages hasn't really helped too much. Like, Port want to go forward, they never want to go back, and they don't want to give Houston the ball, I feel it sometimes. And yeah, it was just very frustrating watching him he's 10 meters away from the contest, so his team's trying to go forward, and they don't go back out through him. Where the other team, when they go forward, they're bombing it 30, 40 meters out of the contest, and he's just not near it, and then he has to run to I don't know. I didn't like that. It was disgusting to watch. And then I think in the third term, so basically he was like 30 points at half time, and he basically got all of his points to basically this 98 in like the third term. Like, I swear he had like a 50-point quarter. And that's when like you can see the role going nuts. Like, when they actually funnel it out and they use him, he was dynamite, and I was like, Jesus, this is so night and day. Like, the first 2 quarters felt useless, felt awful. I hated the pick. Third quarter, it was like, holy shit, this guy's insane. Like, what the hell? How's he not going 150 a week? and then he just doesn't get used again. Now, I understand, obviously, Farrell and Burton back there, so they do have a lot of people eating into it. I feel like if he was getting some kick-ins, because it just felt like he didn't have that many of them. I think even one of them he didn't play on, and I was very angry at him for it. Then again, Ryan did that too. So yeah, I don't know, Houston pick, I'm not in love with it. I'm sad I kind of picked him up, because I picked him up mainly for his bye, and it's like, man, Clark was actually just a better pick. Going Jordan Clark for this bye was the better defensive option, and I made the wrong play there. I've obviously talked about how good Holmes is already. McGovern, if you brought him in, and I know a lot of people brought him in, you're probably a bit underwhelmed by this score from McGovern. And I've actually worked out McGovern's scores in my team, but he's only actually averaged me like a 103, 104, I think it was. Because obviously we didn't get McGovern's original first few scores when he was like 120 average. So at the start of the season, we brought him in after round 3, so round 4. I think he had a 120 in round 1, 144 in round 2, 113 maybe? No, 120 was in round 3. Maybe 128. Oh my god, I don't know why this isn't loading. Why does this always happen whenever I try to record? Why is my life so hard? Okay, well, whatever. Anyway, basically, McGovern was on like a 120 average. We brought him in. Now he's a 108 average. Obviously, to get down to a 108 average from a 120 average, you have to be performing below that. So yeah, he's been a little bit frustrating at times. Yeah, I think technically Holmes has actually averaged better in our team than McGovern has. But look, it is what it is. Martin, we're just going to keep him. He's going to be our new swingman, our new D7M9. Yeah, Bolton was electric. Butters, a little bit underwhelming. We're going to go through this a little bit more rapid fire. I've been talking a bit too much. Dawson, underwhelming. We didn't even know if he was going to get up, and then he did, and underwhelming. Crouch was doing well, but got injured, so I'm pretty sure I saw news that he's out for 5 to 8 weeks. It looks like it's long term. It's not short term, so he has to be a trade, which just sucks. But here we go. So yeah, 109, 144, 120. So he has a 124 average. Now he's a 108 average. As I said, it's technically like a 103 average in our team or some shit like that, which sucks. But we did get him. What price was he then? We still got him for like 518k. So that's still we paid unders for what he's done for us. So I can't be upset at that. And he's hit some good form as of recently. It was mostly frustrating in the first 5 weeks where he was really performing unders. Jack Steele, 118. Very happy with that, man. Bounce back. Harley Reid. This one's frustrating. I mean, the kid's electric. I've said it for a long time now that I think he's a keeper. We want him. We're going to hold him. He's going to be top 6 in our forward line. If not, he's going to be a beautiful loophole player that we can use. And just a bit frustrating here that he obviously gets suspended for 2 weeks. I haven't seen anything about Eagles challenging it, but yeah, he was 95 at halftime and then finished on 71. Like, oh man, I really thought I was gonna have an electric week, and if Reed got off, I would have. But look, it is what it is. Such is life. He's gonna get parked in our bench because I think it's just too good to be trading, and I know a lot of people will, but I'll be happy to ride Pod Harley Reid home. Like, that sounds real good to me. Sullivan, good enough. And that's all we had in the mid. Gorn, 95. Disappointing, but at the same time, not. So I did put something out on Twitter for those that looked, but technically 80% of the top 5% had either Nick Dacos V-Seed or Seed, or Bontempelli V-Seed or Seed. So everyone basically locked in these scores. And I was at minimum 20 points behind, 23 points behind 80% of the top 5% because my captain was worse at the end of the day. So it was a little bit frustrating there, but about 10% of them, so with the remaining 20% of players, 10% of them had the captaincy on Gorn. So I did want Gorn to play well enough because the thing with Gorn is he's in everyone's team. So unless he's your captain, he's not really a difference maker. If he goes at like 115 to 120, that's basically fine for us because it's one of those things where it's like you're scoring well, you're scoring much better than other rucks if anyone doesn't have you for some reason, but you're not punishing us through massive captain scores. So this 95 was exactly that. It was good enough or passable, we could say, but it doesn't punish us for not captaining him. Obviously, if he whipped out like a 180, then great. 90% of the competition would have just absolutely slaughtered me in the captain's department. So, sorry, 90% of the top 5%. But at least we got a little bit of a win over the 10% that went Gorn, and as I said, Sarongs and all those kind of picks. So at least that's not the end of the world, which is, it's good in that retrospect. English 131, happy with that. Heaney didn't play. We brought Flanders in. Good debut game. McRae, oh man, this boy, I have hated owning him, and he is going to get sideways. At least I thought he was, but now I'm looking at my Crouch trade, and I'm thinking, I don't have enough trades to side with Jack McRae. So he's probably just going to be parked in my team, which kind of sucks. I think I'd feel more comfortable fielding Reed most weeks over McRae, so he's probably my F7, if anything. But yeah, 107, very happy with that. Good week. To be fair, he scored like 50 in the first quarter. So in reality, like poor second, third, fourth quarter. Not poor, but definitely not good. But yeah, at least he got to his 101. We're very happy there. Sexton, 100. This man's elite. I brought in Frazier, and once again, if you were on my Twitter, you would have seen that, my ex. So yeah, that was the decision we made there. Awesome. So that's how the team's looking. What I'm just going to do here, because I'm going to be way too damn lazy. Where the hell is the optimize button? Oh, sorry, I've never used this before, but I'm just going to hit optimize, get the team set. Awesome. Wow, I don't know if you guys can hear my stomach, but that was mental what it just did. So obviously we have quite a lot. If we look at this, it looks like, yeah, we're going to be missing at least one player. But Reed is out. Crouch is out. Yeah. Obviously we get trades though, so we'll make it work. I think the other thing is captaincies. Obviously it's thrown out. This might be a weird time for me to talk about captaincies, but I do think Pigmentality always talks about how captains bounce back after a poor loss where the captain didn't really perform or the team didn't perform, and we've seen it many times with Max Gorn this year specifically. He's come out with a massive captain's game after they've lost an unexpected game. They lost to West Coast, and everyone's like, holy shit, what did Max Gorn do next week? 180. Nuts. And when he lost to Grundy in round 1, what did he do the next week? 170. Nuts. So, yeah, every time a captain seems to get beaten, they definitely show up the next week is what I'm sort of seeing. It might just be a Gorn thing, but it's definitely something that he highlights, that captains go mental. So we're seeing Jordan Dawson, who had a poor game, Andy's team lost to Hawthorn, lining up against Richmond at Adelaide Oval. That looks so beautiful. Obviously, the question is Jordan Dawson even playing? Because he played through a niggle this week, and is he going to get rested into what should be an easy kill, even without him? Maybe. On top of it, Crouch is also out, so you think there's more midfield for Jordan Dawson. If this man's playing, at the end of the day, more midfield with Crouch out, bounce back captain's game into Richmond. I don't know how you don't BC him. And that was literally my first initial thought. Obviously, I've looked through it a bit more since then, but I still think if Jordan Dawson's playing, I'm just going to take the punt on him. I also think he might be a bit of a pod VC. But yeah, if he's playing and he's not 100%, he might go massive, and if he doesn't go massive, he's a VC. It doesn't really matter. And I feel so confident in my C bouncing back this week that it doesn't matter. But other ones that you look at, you can look at Bont because of the good form if you really want. Yeah, I'm not going to pick anyone in that game. Flanders obviously plays off the halfback, but he doesn't play like your traditional halfbacker, so I actually don't really want to do Flanders. I also don't think Flanders has shown a monster ceilings like some of these other players have. He's shown like a good 130, and I think maybe the best is like 140-ish. What have we seen from him? Nah, he hasn't even done that. He hasn't even done 130, technically. So he's been really consistent. He hasn't dropped below 102, but he hasn't gone over 128. So it's one of those guys that, hey, if you want to put the C on him and because you VC Dawson or something, I think that's a nice, safe captain score you're going to get from him. But not, I don't know. I don't really want to do that. And then obviously you have Heaney into Geelong, so that's going to be potentially massive. Heaney hasn't gone massive in a while, though. He's been getting some decent scores, but nothing like the start of the season, so you can sort of see that there. The 95, 121, 118, 109, 120. Now, these are scores that you're not unhappy with at the end of the day, and if your captain got around this 118 to 121 sort of mark, you'd be like, passable, like, we'll accept it. But it's not blowing you out of the water. You're not sitting there going, oh my god, 120 is so good. Unlike earlier in the season, as I mentioned, where he was obviously popping out these 160s and whatnot. So yeah, 3-round average, much better. 5-round average, it's really good still. So he's safe, I think. I think if you're making him your captain, you're probably getting, once again, sort of like Flanders, a decent score at minimum, but he has at least shown the ceiling that he could pop a 160. But then I think finally you can't look past it. There's two guys in this game, Dacos in incredible form, all gone on a bounce back week, which we did talk about. We've obviously seen Gorn's ceiling, we've seen the 170s, we've seen the 180s, and I haven't owned him through any of that, and it sucked. But this is the perfect example of Gorn's team losing a game that they really shouldn't have lost, and they shouldn't have lost. Losing in a way they shouldn't have lost is what I should be saying. Them losing the Frio, that's not too surprising. Them losing the Frio by 90 plus, that is very fucking surprising. So I think it's King's birthday game. It's against the Pies. He's going to bounce back and he's going to be massive. Like, it's unfortunate it's the last game of the round, but I think you can lock this man in for a 150. Like, I feel so confident in that. And we don't have Cox playing either, who is more of a better hit-out ruck. So I think he does a little bit more restrictive work in the sense that because he wins the hit-out like 52% of the time. I don't know. He's like top 3 for like hit-outs in the league. So you take Cox out of it. You've put Cameron there, who's Cameron isn't the greatest hit-out ruck. You think Gorn's going to smash him in that department. Collingwood have depleted midfield, so you think he's going to be getting a lot of hit-outs to advantage. I think Gorn this week, it just screams a ceiling game, and it's so hard to look past him. And I think that's maybe why I'm looking at someone like Dawson, because I don't want to be getting a Flanders 120 and being like, it's good enough. Or I don't take it and Gorn flops again, and then I feel angry at myself. Same with Heaney. I don't want to put myself in that position. Dawson, I think there's a good chance you're going to... he's not going to play. There's definitely a possibility of that. If he does play, doesn't end up as a sub, I think there's also potential there. But if not, I think there's a chance he goes absolutely massive and we take a 160 from him and we're very happy. And if not, then we get a massive score from Gorn. So yeah, just wanted to talk about captains quickly. Cover that. Awesome. Let's jump into some trades. Now, trades this week, I'm going to jump to players first of all, just because I like to be able to look at the break-evens. When we look at the break-evens, there's not too many players that scream at you that you really want to be bringing in. Honestly, there's 3 guys here in my opinion that you're looking at. It's Alika Lear, Will Dawson, and Lockie McNeil. But even with Lockie McNeil, I think that's pretty speculative, and that's why you really couldn't have afforded to go Will Dawson in my opinion last week, because going Will Dawson puts you in this awkward position where who are you downgrading to this week? Like, the options kind of suck comparatively to last week. Alika Lear, like, I'd love to bring him in, but I think Buckley's meant to be coming back, and if he's not coming back this week, he's coming back next week. I would prefer if Buckley comes back this week, and then Leake's not named, and we don't have to worry about it. Or if he is named with Buckley, then that shows good confidence for his job security, because he was electric at the end of that game. Big reason they won. Did I say big reason? He was the reason. So you think he should get a gig, but they have so many tools already. It's probably not going to happen if Buckley's back. But yeah, if he's named with Buckley in the team, I think lock him on in. But yeah, I really want Buckley to be back because it gives us a bit of clarity on where Leake sits exactly on the chopping block. Because you hate to bring him in. Yeah, he does decent, and the next week he's back out. That would suck. Will Dawson kind of falls in the same pocket where his job security isn't rock solid, but at least he's a 117k rookie. You bank a lot of money downgrading him, which is nice. He also brings that defensive forward swing, which is nice. Worst case scenario, if he gets dropped, at least if you've brought him into the defensive line, you can swing him with Fisher, you can swing him with Sexton, you can swing him with Comben, you can still swing him around with players, so at least he brings some sort of I guess advantage to your team, even in a worst case scenario. And then McNeil, who was good. Obviously put out 80 points, as we can see there. Sub affected, but the sub got injured really early. I'm pretty sure it was Harms, got injured very early in the game, so McNeil got a lot of game time out, which was really good for him. But yeah, I just don't know about his job security in that team, and yeah, which is annoying. Toby McMullen, once again, job security, don't really know. And then we have a bunch of these mid-season draft guys, but you can have to pick them up off one game, and that's iffy in my opinion. Tom DeGoning, random fun fact, my dad has him in his team. By the way, my dad doesn't know how to play Supercoach in the slightest. I've tried to show him how, and then I tried to sort of step back and let him run, be free, let those wings fly. And then I look at his team like 2 weeks later, and it's like, wait, why did you side with like Williams to Battle? Oh, well, Williams wasn't playing well, and Battles played well the week before. I'm like, okay, you have learnt nothing. He's doing slightly better, but yeah, he randomly has Tom DeKoning in his team, and I have no idea where it came from. But hey, 140, let's go. Well done, Dad. I don't know how that happened. I'm sure a lot of people want McKercher back. I actually don't want him back because obviously I don't own him, and I kind of plan on bringing in Fisher, so that would be good. Sanders, obviously, so unfortunate. What could have been, but you can't bring him in at this price, in my opinion. He's already been shown to be a sub, and you need at least 100k for him to be worth it. I must think at this point, if you're bringing him in for this much money, you need... I mean, he also has a buy in like a few weeks, like 2 games he'll get and then a bye, so he's not going to make 100k before the bye. So at that point, I feel like you should almost be keeping him. Yeah, I don't know, I wouldn't risk that. But yeah, as we can see, rookies kind of suck. So yeah, I mean, people praying Will Dawson gets named, and if he doesn't, for anyone that brought him in early, you're going to get hyper punished there. But we're going to look at what I'm doing. First things first is Crouch has to go, unfortunately. Sorry, I'm actually going to zoom in. I know this is way too late in the video to do this, but I'm going to just jump in a bit closer. Crouch, yeah, has to go. It's just how it is. We're just going to flip up Reed for now. We're going to look at average. The Fish. Yes, I'm paying up for Fish, but you know what? I feel really comfortable doing that because we've now seen consistent games from him that make me feel like, yeah, this guy is actually going to be a top 6 forward. Obviously, if you brought him in earlier, you got a good win because you brought him in, you got 110k out of him. Even if he flops from here, awesome. You made bank, and then you can side with him. Me, I really need him to be a keeper from here, paying up this sort of price, but I feel comfortable doing that from the data we've seen so far. Hopefully. So let's just complete that. Let's just lock that in for now. And then we want to, with these other trades, more or less do a 1 up, 1 down. We have 150k in the bank. We should be able to do a 1 up, 1 down. The problem is the rookie stocks are kind of sucking now. We've moved out a lot of these top-end rookies that we talked about before. I kind of want to keep Sexton as potentially a keeper from here. If he doesn't end up being a keeper, that's fine. That's fine. But at minimum, we're going to keep him for now. Reed, we're going to keep for now. Sorry, we're going to keep all season long. Combin, I mean, we didn't trade him in the first buy because we kind of want cover over the next few buys. That would be ideal. But even saying that, who else is ready to go? Like, when I look at these break-evens, like, Sullivan needs to stay. Pink needs to stay and make money. He hasn't earned any yet. Garcia needs to stay and hopefully play. Clark, he should be back from his suspension. Richards out injured. Jones out injured. Like, there's nobody else in the team really ready to go. And that's such a problem. Like, that's such a problem. Like, with nobody being ready to go, the only guy that can really go is Combin. Which kind of sucks that I didn't go Darcy last week, but at the same time I didn't want to lose money. So, probably not the wrong play there, but yeah, I kind of wanted to keep Combin through this, but I just don't think I can, unfortunately. So, let's say Combin goes out. Now, Combin goes down. We bank a lot of money off Combin going down, which is really nice. Why is it cooking so hard? Why? As we bank a lot of money going down, we actually could just go straight up and boom, we're good to go. There's a lot of things to consider here. Obviously, I can very easily afford like cheap Mackay and Kerno, but they got a buy coming up next week, so I'll probably wait till after the buy before I jump on one of them. Zorko, clearly, but I think I might antipod the Zork. I might. At least this week, because this week isn't so punishing because he is a high break even. What would be punishing? So the most punishing play I could make with the Zork is bringing him in, him having a poor game, dropping a ton of cash, then having a very high break even into the Saints, and then once again not quite doing enough into the Saints, losing even more money, and then maybe getting injured. Like, and it could just not be worth it. There's a good chance that in a few weeks' time he could be back down to 550-ish. He could also hold this price, but if this week comes out and he drops 140-ish, goes up, what, a few K, maybe 5 to 10K, it's not really punishing, and then he's into the Saints, so I can jump on him then. So I don't think I have to go on Zork right now, which is fine. And if I choose not to go on him, then that's also fine, because, yeah, Antipod's fine. Now, obviously, we're just looking at forwards right now. The other thing we can do is if we go down with Reed, we can look at some midfielders. I was really interested in Lockie Neal, but I don't know if I should be going Dunkley and Neal. That seems a little bit ham. The only positive there is I did look at their fixture, and I do feel like looking at Brisbane's fixture, there's a good chance they maybe only lose 3 to 4 games on this back end of the season, and they win the rest. And assume that with a team winning, usually teams are winning through their midfield. I mean, I say that, but Geelong have won so many games, and their midfield are trash. But I think that Neal and Dunk could be a big part of that, so having both of them isn't going to hurt. I mean, we've already seen that with sort of Gold Coast this year. You can have Rao, Took, Anderson, and they're all fine. So I think Dunks and Neal could be fine, but I don't know if I want to do that. Might be a bit crazy if I did do that. Yeah, it's just like I've been considering. I think the other thing I've got to look at is I've got to look at who I want to finish my team with. So if we look at the current situation, we have 6 premium defenders right now. Boom. Awesome. How many premium midfielders do we have? There's only 6 there right now. It's just the way it is. And then the forwards. If it lets me scroll down, let's let me scroll down. You could say I have 5 forwards. I need 1 more forward, and I need 2 more midfielders at this point to complete the team, and then I would like a 23rd defender and a 24th forward if possible. Maybe even a Rosie for a 24th mid instead could be an option. But I mean, what are we on? 12 trades. Assuming that I go 1 up, 1 down to get the final 3, that'll leave me with 6, and then even 1 up, 1 down to get the extra 23, 24, that'll leave me with 2. Maybe I have to use an extra to get there, so maybe I end up with 1 left as a spare. It's not the worst case scenario, but they're just some situations I'm looking at. I would really like Noah Anderson to be part of this finished midfield, and that might seem weird, but he's a real yo-yo with these scores, and I think looking at the end of their run, I think they have enough good games to make it worth it. And I think also, once again, he's got that ceiling where I think he's been very obvious when his good games are happening. Like, he's been a downhill skier when they run over teams, and he's gotten tagged against teams that clearly tag, such as James Jordan, such as I think St Kilda did it, and somebody else I think did it to him. But it's been very obvious when he's getting tagged, so I think it makes it a bit obvious to VC see him. I wouldn't see him, though, just because of the nature of his volatility, but I think it brings him in as a great VC option later in the season. Some of these games I think are really good for them because they have a great fixture, and I think, yeah, Noah Anderson is somebody I want in my final team. That obviously leaves a lot of speculation on the other picks because we got Zach Merritt here. As I mentioned, maybe Lockie Neal is a discussion. Then we obviously have Sarong as well, so they're all 3 viable options that could fit into that M8 slot, and that's something I've got to work out as well. I think I don't want Zach Merritt, so it's more or less Neal versus Sarong. If I wait a week for Sarong, that's fine, but his form's also been down a bit, so I'm kind of tempted to go and finish it off with a Anderson and a Neal. As I mentioned, defense is finished, but I do want a Nas back there, Wangering Millera, and then forward can be considered done at this point. I'm going to Antipod Zorko, Mackay versus Kerno, bring in one of them for 6, and then try and figure out who the 7th is from there. I mean, maybe even Nick Hind could be a 7th. I mean, he's playing well enough right now. He sucked as a miss, but I think the reasoning was there. As I said, I asked the right people, and it just didn't play out. They were against it, and they had good reasonings why they were against it, and I decided I was being too speculative and too crazy with the pick, and I definitely was, and it worked out. It's great for anyone that had the cojones to do that, but he might be a bit expensive now, so it might look like a bad play, but I think maybe, just because the forward line once again sucks so bad, if you're bringing him in for 380k, which isn't bad, and he can average 90, that's kind of good enough in the forward line. And I feel like he's been playing really well. So I think I'll give him 1 more week because they're playing Carlton this week. And then if he does well again, yeah, he might end up with like 30k, which is pretty expensive. But I might actually jump on Hind as maybe a 24th, as I mentioned, for the forward. Also, he has the defense forward line swing, so I would love to try and get that. I think that would work well if I can just get a defender with that. Hopefully a rookie with that. Yeah, well, I guess that's the team, guys. As you can tell, my internet's literally cooked. Like, this is not happening right now. So I haven't been able to show you what I wanted to do, but hopefully I talked through it enough that you can understand what I was saying. As I said, I'll be jumping on Supercoach Hub tomorrow night with Scobes and whatnot, so we can go through that. But I do think the rookie right now I'll combine out. I will bring in Will Dawson, which will leave a lot of money left over. But then who do I go up from? I think I could technically go up from Garcia to a Neil. I think that's a possibility if I wanted to do that. But once again, that's using a rookie with no money on their head, so it's kind of painful. I'm also wondering if I should sit here and let these rookies accrue some more cash before I go throwing them into the deep end. The other one is, I guess, I don't know. I don't think Jones gets me there, unfortunately. I kind of wanted Jones to be the one that goes, but if he doesn't, he doesn't. Richards will even get back in the team, because by the time he gets back, we're going to have a lot of ins back into Collingwood, so he might not get named as it is. But Garcia is also speculative, so I think all three of those are pretty iffy, and I'll just, maybe one of them goes to Neil this week. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm considering. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there because, as I said, my system is cooked as cook can be. Oh, maybe it's working right now. Let's just try and we'll just quickly play around with what I just said. So Will Dawson comes in. Boom. Actually, something else I wanted to do potentially with... Nah, it doesn't matter this week. We can leave him there. So we'll leave Dawson there. As I mentioned, we can go Garcia out, get off the break-evens, go to round 12, click average, boom, Lockie Neal, boom, complete. Leaves me with no money in the bank for the following week, which sucks, but I don't mind too much. He comes on for Reed, because Reed won't be playing. Yeah, and looks good. So obviously that leaves me with... Assuming Pink gets up 21 playing, and technically we can use Jordan Clark as a loop, so he will play. We'll see how he goes. If he does well, we can move Butters with Sullivan and then take the hopefully better score. Obviously, if Clark is now bottom 3 players, we might just roll the dice with Sullivan. But yeah, in a way, we get to look at 22 players, even though we only get 21's scores. But yeah, I think the team looks really nice like this. As I said, double Brisbane in the mid, maybe a little bit cray-cray there. I mean, maybe. But how many people have these? Both of these players are massive pod picks right now. And as I said, I think I like Brisbane's run. I think we'll just quickly click on it. Just show everyone what I'm looking at here. So I think they win out. So first of all, Neil has great history against the Dogs, which is good. St Kilda have been giving up a ton of points, but they do tag with Windy, kind of. Port have Drew sort of run with players, but it is what it is. But when I look at these games, I think Neil has shown he's a downhill skier. I think... They might have some trouble with the Dogs this week, potentially. I think they win all these. Might have trouble with Sydney, but it is at the Gabba. Could have trouble with Gold Coast because it is at Gold Coast and they're good at home. And I think they probably lose to Collingwood. So there's maybe 3 to 4 games that they lose on this run home. But I think they win a lot of these. They push for the top 8. And I think they're going to do a lot of that on the back of Neil. I think Neil could be massive here. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking, guys. As I mentioned, doesn't leave many trades left. 10 trades left. 2 left in the team. But I want to get 2 swingmen. As I mentioned, 23rd, 24th player. Which could take me 9 trades to do that, unless I'm looking at some cheaper players, as I mentioned, like a Hind or something like that. Maybe I can get away with 8 trades for that and then 2 spares. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. I've rambled on long enough. Once again, I appreciate all you for tuning into the video, those for liking, and those for subscribing for the consistent injections of Supercoach content directly into their YouTube feed. Peace, later.